Welcome back to the Lead and Allure Founder podcast. Today we are joined by Alvaro Gonzalez, who is the founder and CEO of Dawere. Alvaro is re-engineering the accessibility of the US high school diploma for the Spanish-speaking world, from partnering with the MLB to educate the next generation of baseball stars, working with UNICEF on global education equality, and he is providing that quality education that doesn't have to be a luxury for the elite. So we'll be discussing the intersection of tech, accreditation, and the future of education.
Thank you,
Welcome.
George, for having me. Thank you so much. Very excited to be here.
Absolutely, it's a pleasure. So could you walk through for the audience a kind of just a rundown of your journey, how you ended up founding your company, and what the landscape looks like for you?
Sure. I guess we would have to go back to 2014, actually. I'm Venezuelan. I was living in Venezuela, and I was very inspired by the collapse of the educational system in my home country and all the political turmoil that was going on over there. And I really wanted to do something for that society. And in my reflections, in my thinking about the problem, I got to education, even though I'm a telecommunications engineer. I'm not an educator by training, but I was convinced that the lack of quality education to all was a big part of the origin of our problems as a society. So that's how Dawere got started. It was supposed to be an online school. So that was our first product. And I knew I wanted to do something with education. I was an engineer, so online education was the obvious thing to do. And back then, online education was kind of commonplace in the U.S. I guess there was a lot of online education initiatives going on, but in Latin America, it was completely crazy. There was no legal framework for online education to exist. So we were very much pioneering this type of solutions and technology in Venezuela, and very quickly our ambitions grew from Venezuela to other countries in Latin America, and so our first product was this online high school. We were the first online high school in Venezuela, the first online high school in Honduras, and the first online high school in Dominican Republic. We were also launching schools in Colombia, Mexico, and of course our online school in Florida, USA. And that was kind of where we actually found a legal framework and actual accreditation agencies that could tell us how to do quality, proper online education. So that was very helpful. And that really helped us lead the way in Latin America on how to do this correctly. And I guess that was the first product, the first service that we could launch to the market. But we were very much thinking about how to create a systems wide solution. So we didn't really want to be a school. We wanted to be a solution for educational systems, like broadly speaking, like for countries, right?
100%. Yeah.
And that led to our next service that was a SaaS, and it's everything that we've built for our own school, for the Dawere. It's our LMS, it's our SIS, it's our communications platform with parents, students, teachers. It's our administrative tools. It's our AI tools now that we're building. Everything white label, right? So that any entrepreneur, schools, and governments can launch their own quality online school. And
Brilliant.
and yeah, so that's kind of where we are right now.
That's fantastic. And obviously, you being the founder of the first online school in Venezuela, what are some of the, kind of doubts that people have or concerns about it, and how are you kind of, going about proving them wrong and showing that it's really something valuable?
Yeah, in the beginning there was doubts to whether this was legal. So we
Yeah.
we first had to partner with existing schools that were actually registered with the Ministry of Education, and that's how we got started. Eventually, when the pandemic hit, before the pandemic, the ministries of education would really, they were going after us, saying that what we were doing was not legal, and that was hard. But it was really a debate, because in the legal framework in Venezuela and many of these countries, there is talk about using technology in education and having the education adapt to the students' needs, especially for adults, right? So what they didn't have is laws around specific virtual education. They might be even laws about distance learning. They might be laws about distance learning, but not virtual education. So it was kind of a gray area. So I had a lot of back and forth with the Ministry of Education of Venezuela and different countries where we were operating. And then the pandemic hit. And that changed everything, right? We were now allies, and they wanted us to do exactly what we were doing. So we actually got the permit to do online education, and we were able to start our own school and provide high school diplomas from our own school. And that's exactly what we did. And that went on for 4 years. And then in Venezuela, they said, that was just for the pandemic, and you're not going to keep doing this anymore. And they closed the school again.
After all of the favors you did for them. Damn.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then we had to transfer all of our students to our online school in Florida, in the U.S. So that's why we're very grateful to the U.S. in that regard, that they really provided an environment where we could thrive and really build our business.
Right. So, and why was there a disparity between what Venezuela were thinking about online education to what the U.S. were thinking, and why did they dump it after COVID?
That's a great question. I think historically, Latin America is a lot more conservative. It's a lot more. They don't believe that much of liberty for citizens in that regard. It's just the government wants to do it all, and they want to control everything. In the U.S., it's more about liberty, democracy, and everyone. Entrepreneurs are welcome to go, build solutions for their own problems, for society's problems. So I think that's why they've become this hub and this platform to launch global businesses. And that's exactly what they did with Dawere. We have now students in over 42 different countries, and they're legally registered in our Florida school. And that's just business that Venezuela's missing out. Colombia and all of these countries in Latin America are just missing out because of the way that they're structured and their philosophy around education and their legal framework.
Yeah. Okay, so jumping into their minds in Venezuela, Colombia, etc., what do you think it is about traditional education that might actually be superior to online education, maybe to just understand their kind of point of view, and then obviously the second part of that too, which is what online education does better?
Yeah, you're really going to the center of the problem. I think there's some issues that are political. There's a lot of teachers in the country, and there's our voters, and those are and they teachers may sometimes feel threatened by online education. They feel that they're going to be replaced, but the truth is that they're not going to be replaced. Traditional face-to-face education is always going to be a thing, but what's really going on is that 50% of adults from 20 years and above in Latin America don't have a high school diploma. That's how bad the problem is, right?
Wow.
So
okay.
The traditional system is not really serving everyone in that society. And what other countries have figured out is that the education system has to be as flexible as possible to adapt to everyone's needs. So if you actually allow online education, you won't hurt the current system. You will just make it bigger and be able to serve a wider audience. And that's what we're trying to achieve. And also, teachers, I told you about the political implications. They've also they've also told me that they're worried that if they allow online schools to emerge, then there will be a lot of fraud and a lot of high school diplomas for students that didn't really go through a proper quality education process.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
that's kind of what I'm hearing from the authorities.
Okay, no, it makes sense. I guess the fraud aspect like could have an ounce of truth to it because of course there's like a lot of course sellers out here that are making a killing and they kind of don't sell things that are valuable. But at the same time, there's always going to be people who exploit the system, aren't there? So, but with that comes like massive opportunity. Do you think they feel threatened in any way, the teachers, by kind of that global competition of like if anybody can post online and become an influencer or a teacher or an educator, which we see loads of influencers doing now, do you think that they're going to be out competed by those people?
I think that's a fear that they have. And what I'm trying to tell them and what I'm trying to do online in my own podcast and in my social accounts, it's trying to tell them that where I see education going is that technology is gonna cover the instruction part, and it's gonna teach kids how to do math in certain ways, but the human aspect and the human connections between a coach, a mentor, and a kid, it's gonna be entirely more important and entirely different of what they're doing right now, where they're going every day to a classroom and being the only source of knowledge for those kids. And they're going to transition into being a companion that helps them discover knowledge through technology by talking to an AI, by going through a platform, an educational platform. And their job is going to be to motivate the students to really get to know them, get to know their families, what their interests are, and how to provide the tools for the kids to go after their own dreams. And I still think that adult in the building, that teacher, if you may, we might call them something else. We might call them mentors or coach or whatever. But I think that connection is going to be very important, because it's that adult that's going to look at these kids in the eye and it's going to tell them, I believe in you. I see you. You're special. You're brilliant. And you're going to accomplish everything you want in life. And, that's powerful. And that a machine can't do that, right? So I would just tell teachers, just go with the flow. Try to learn this technology. Try to learn as much as you can about AI, about everything that's going on. And don't act on your fear, act on your love for these kids and think about the kids.
100%.
And that's something that I also try to tell politicians as much as I can, that don't think about the teacher community. Think about all of the students and all of the people that are not able to complete their education because you don't want to allow alternative ways of education,
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, no, the children come first, exactly. And I think teachers should share that if they were to kind of have the situation reframed. And also that goes into, I guess, the future of AI and the value of the human connection with the students. So, as you, of course, you're implementing AI tools into Dawere as well for personalization of like curriculum, etc. So how do you think, over the next years to come, in the next decade, there'll be a kind of complementary combination of AI and the human teacher, and how do you think that landscape looks for you?
We should really separate this from completely virtual education and how technology is going to play a role in traditional schools. So for virtual education, what I think is great is how far have we gone in the ability to create software and technology to really provide a quality learning process for these kids and adults that are seeking to get their high school education. When I started this, I would have never imagined that what we're doing right now, this personal AI tutor that can coach you and kind of tutor you in every topic down the way in every subject of your high school education. So that goes beyond what I imagined when I started this, and I'm very happy and very proud of what we've built for our online education, and that's mostly or for our online school, and that's mostly for kids that are doing homeschooling. And that's great because these kids really and these families really understand that that's just part of their education, and they go through the platform and through our school, but they understand that they have to go out into the world and participate in their communities and enroll into the Scouts program or into software programs and robotics programs and into their church. And when you talk to some of these kids that are doing homeschool, they're amazing. They're amazing because I think it's all of this varied ways of learning that they're going through. There's all these opportunities for learning. It just creates a different mindset. They're not limited by schools or by a system or for people telling them how to think or what to learn. They're just going about their way, about their way of looking at the world and learning anything and everything that they want. So
100%.
They're amazing. So I'm very proud of what we're doing in the virtual school side. And then we only recently have we started about thinking, how can we help traditional schools do better, be more efficient, create better experiences for their students, to free time for students, for teachers, for everyone around to really focus on new things. Focus on life skills, to focus on projects that will translate into success in the real world for these kids. And that's something that we've just started to think about, and it's a lot about I guess one of the first things that Edugogo is able to do for schools is that normally schools have different softwares to do different things. Like they would have a provider of an LMS, and then a SaaS provider, and then another SaaS company for their administrative work. And then Edugogo just brings all that together in one platform. And that just makes them more efficient. But then when we provide also this AI tools for the academics and adaptive formative assessments and the AI tutor, that allows students that allows schools to implement mastery learning. And what that means is that students are able to learn at their own pace. So if they go to a classroom and the teacher says something that they didn't really grasp, they didn't really understand it, they can always go home and have this platform where they will see the same topic provided by another teacher in a video, but then they will have formative assessments where they will practice this topic, and they will have a tutor that every time that they miss or they get an answer incorrectly, then this tutor will jump in and help them. It will apply the Socratic method, and it will help them reflect and think about the problem until they get it right. And this way, you won't leave kids behind. It's because when you are in a face-to-face setting and you have 30 kids in front of you, some kids may get it the first time. Some kids are bored because they got it way back, and then some kids never got it, right? That's inevitable. That's simply what happens. So when you you provide a tool for students to go at their own pace, magical things will happen. And not only more kids will excel, but there will be more time to focus in other areas for teachers and for students. And I think that's kind of what we're seeing. Also, we're seeing the rise of very specialized schools. There's entrepreneurs that come to us, they get our software, our platform, and then they launch these schools that are specifically for high, how to say this, for athletes. and they have this school specifically for athletes. They have this school specifically for migrants and refugees in Trinidad and Tobago, in Aruba. We have this school in Madrid, Spain, that they're launching, and they're very focused in emotional intelligence. So you allow once I'm looking for a word. Once all of the structure is set up, you have the digital curriculum, you have all of the platform, the technology that you need, then you can be very efficient with the instruction, with the academic work.
Yeah.
And that frees you a lot of time to focus in these specific areas where, and then families that are that resonate with that philosophy of education that you're promoting, then get to your school. And we're seeing a lot of more smaller schools, very specialized, and that's also something that we've been seeing recently.
That's brilliant. Yeah, absolutely. It's like the infrastructure, right? So people, if they have an idea, they have all of the software that you've developed through finding what people need, but it's like copy and pastable. So can completely understand that. That's brilliant. I think that covers the kind of future of AI space as well. So to move on to because of course the other kind of ideal client profile you would have is like government leaders, right? Who are bringing up kind of ideas and how to deploy education. So one of the difficulties they're dealing with is like dropout rates, if I'm not mistaken. So could you talk a bit about how Dawere's platform is designed to like predict and reduce those dropout rates that a traditional classroom can't?
Sure. Through the interactions of the students with the platform, we collect data on how long they stay on videos, how long they stay on lectures, how long they stay on assessments, what type of, we have background data, like where they were born, where they're living right now, what age they might have, and what grade they are, who their parents are, whatever. And then from all of these data and all of these interactions with our platform, we have this machine learning model that is able to predict which students are going to be able to graduate and which students are more likely to drop out, right? And that really, having that data and having that prediction from our machine learning model allows our teachers to focus on the students that need their attention, and to be able to intervene in a timely manner and prevent students from dropping out.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what we've been doing, and this is going to continue to grow, right? So right now we have data on the interactions with the platform, but imagine if we could also record only the voice, right, of what's going on in a classroom, and you can see how the teachers is delivering that classroom, but also how much students are interacting, how engaged they are, and you can start collecting data on what's going on in the actual classroom.
Yeah.
And now you have data from the face-to-face interactions, you have data from the virtual interactions, and you can keep honing that machine learning model, and you can make better and better predictions. Another tool that we are currently thinking about building is this second brain for students, this AI model that has a lot of context on the student, and it's going to help them follow their dreams. And when I say follow their dreams, it kind of sounds cheesy, but it's more about, helping them in projects that they're interested about.
Yeah.
So let's say a student, interacts with this coach and says, I want to be an actor. And the coach says, great, that's very interesting. That's, this is how much actors make in your country and the world. This is how many actors there are. This is how the work landscape, looks like. These are the theaters near your town. So why don't we write a play and try to see if we could sell it to the theaters and launch this play in one of these theaters. Oh, great. Okay, so let's start, writing this play. And then you have this kid interacting with the AI, doing something in the real world, and building his confidence that he can make products, services, and into the real world, right? And I think that should be like a subject. Everything else, great, you do whatever the national curriculum tells you to do, but you should also have this time and these tools to follow your interests, and that will help build the entrepreneurship skills that these kids really need to flourish and to really be successful in the future.
And carve their own path as well. I do think and I can speak from personal experience about kind of more creative subjects as well, because I did artwork in sixth form and actually lower school as well, but I got into it in sixth form, and I think it kind of, and obviously that's in the UK, I'm not sure if you're aware, but you probably are, that's like later on, so when I was like 16, 17 maybe, and I think maybe I wouldn't have had the mental maturity to understand how it was valuable for me if I was younger, but if somebody was like given just an ability to explore what their kind of passion was at the start, and then somebody was to say, okay, cool, this is your interest, let me show you how this correlates to actual national curriculum subjects, then they would have like a foundation for understanding why the national curriculum is useful, right? And because if you think about it, like everything is super interesting in the national curriculum when you get out into the real world and you understand that it actually, science and chemistry correlates to outer space, but it's also on an atomic level. That's interesting. But like when you're sometimes listening to a teacher talk about atoms and stuff and you can't work out the problems, you don't understand the big picture. But I think, if there was a subject where people could kind of have an introspection of their own interests, then it would be a good foundation for seeing the value.
Yeah, in my case, I love entrepreneurship, right? And now I know that all of these topics is fundamental to work on technologies that could change the world, and you can build big companies around this knowledge, around this science. And now I would have studied with a lot more enthusiasm if I knew that then I could build companies around these concepts.
Exactly. Yeah, completely.
Yeah.
Would you say that the reason that hasn't been put in place is because like from a high level the school system is designed to maybe employ rather than deploy like kind of critical thinkers and entrepreneurs?
Yeah, sure. It was what it was created for, right?
Yeah.
For the Industrial Revolution, just create workers.
Yep.
And then, changing that direction is very, very hard. I've put myself in the shoes of authorities and ministers of education, and changing that, it would take a lot of leadership, someone very special to say, we're going to do things differently. And there's 500,000 workers only in the Ministry of Education in Venezuela. That's a small country. So, if you go to bigger countries, it's so many people that you have to provide a new direction for, and that you have to reskill. And so it's really hard. I don't want to talk too bad about this authorities. I know they have a big challenge in front of them. Yeah. But definitely, it's just hard to change their direction and what they were built for.
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess, did you say 5,000 employees in the Ministry of Education?
No, 500,000.
Sorry, 500,000. Yeah. So employees.
500,000.
Oh my Lord.
Yes.
That's like, there's no organization that big in the world, I don't think, like from a private perspective, is there?
I don't think so, but well, they might be. I don't know.
Potentially.
But it's huge. It's huge.
Yeah. Okay. Wow. So I guess that leads to like, large scale bureaucracy in a way to get these changes through.
Yeah. It's teachers, it's workers, it's security guards, it's everything that you can think of.
Yeah, I suppose so.
Everything.
Yeah. Okay. Makes sense. Yeah. Cool. And to compare, like say, private school with this online, school space, what are the kind of cost differences, and like what can parents save, and what is also from a organization's perspective, what would it cost to set up a school traditionally as opposed to an online structure?
Oh, you mean comparing? Yeah. Well, of course, setting up an online school is very, very affordable.
Yeah.
especially if you're using Edugogo. I think it's like $400 to set up, and then it depends, but let's say $10 a month per student, per active student. So it's very, very affordable. And then to set up a traditional school, it's hell. I'll tell you. I've tried to gone through the process, and it's so bureaucratic and upside down. Like, you have to hire the teachers first without having the school, to then present to the Ministry of Education, these are my teachers. And that's kind of the requirement, that you have to present who your teachers are going to be. So it's crazy.
Right.
And then, just having the infrastructure, the building, it's very hard, very capital intensive.
Definitely.
And then setting up an online school is very easy. And then for parents, that translates to cost, right? Just enrolling into an online school is a lot more affordable than a traditional school. And especially if you go to the Dawere for Latin Americans, it's about half the cost of the most affordable schools, online schools that I've seen in the U.S. We were just built and developed for that market, for the Latin American market. So we knew that parents needed a low cost school. And the U.S. market, it's completely different. So it couldn't be in the same price range. So yeah, it's a lot more affordable.
100%. And so in terms of your competitors and people providing similar solutions, could you give us like a rundown of that landscape and what Dawere does differently?
Oh yeah, sure. Well, what happens is, like I told you, most of the companies doing this are in the U.S. I'm talking about my hemisphere at least, right? Yeah. So most of the companies doing this are in the U.S. and they're big companies like, let's say, Pearson, Edmentum,
right,
K-12.
Right. Yeah. My father actually used to work for Pearson. Funnily enough. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So these guys have all the U.S. market for themselves. And what's interesting about the U.S. market, and why I think they have not really gone to the Latin American market, is because the U.S. government is a big client. They buy a lot of education technology, and they hire these companies to run their online schooling system, right? So, for example, there's this company called Florida Virtual Schools, and they have about, I think it's 200,000 students in Florida alone. 200,000 online students in Florida.
How many people are there in Florida that could be a student? Do you know?
No, I don't.
No, okay. Yeah, no worries.
Yeah, but the government pays for that service, so it's free for the student, and the government pays for their tuition, right?
Brilliant.
So imagine you're running this corporation, and you say, I have this big client, I have this captive audience for ourselves. Why would I go to Venezuela where there is no legal framework? The government is not going to buy from me.
Yeah.
And I'm going to have to translate all of my content into Spanish and then learn a market, create a brand over there, and do the same thing and try to reach to every single parent and family. And most of them don't have the money to pay for my tuition, for where I'm used to charging for my services. So it was never interesting for these companies to do what we're doing in Latin America, and I guess that's been that has helped us to not have a lot of competition in our markets. We have also been able to go at a slower pace than normal. Startups have to, that pressure of doing everything very quickly and growing very quickly. We have not had that much competition. So, and that's helpful in the sense that it was also very hard to raise capital. So it was more of a bootstrap kind of company, right?
Yeah.
So, but yeah, that's and the result is that we are kind of that Pearson version for Latin America.
Brilliant.
In terms of digital curriculum, online schooling, and all of these services, and we continue to do more of the products that Pearson offers in the U.S., but we are now bringing to the Latin American market.
Okay, fantastic. Yeah, that makes complete sense. So what are your focuses for this year? Because obviously we're at the end of the first quarter or past. But for the next, could be couple of years, over the next year, what is your kind of main focus?
We are betting very heavily in Edugogo, and that's our SaaS platform for schools, governments, and entrepreneurs.
Okay.
I think that the virtual school, we have it down, and we're the best online school for Latin Americans out there. And now we really want to create tools and technology for traditional schools. And we are learning from our first clients. We are learning, and we are building new tools for them, and also keep understanding what's possible with AI. I think that's also going to be a big thing this year. Every time we find new things, new possibilities with AI, and integrating that into our platform, and then showing the market what's possible, and educating the market. Remember that these are people that are reluctant to change, right?
Yeah.
So that's kind of where we are, and what we're going to be working this year. And education moves kind of slow because it's not what's possible with technology, but it is what's digestible by the market and by principals in schools.
Yes.
And teachers.
Yeah. Brilliant. And also about skill security, especially with the future of AI. Could you talk about some examples of how you see skill security becoming a part of kind of your curriculum, and as we move towards more of an AI integrated workforce?
I think we kind of touch on it when I told you that we wanted to create this tool, this coach to help students pursue their own projects and ambitions.
Yeah.
Because it's probable that in the future there will be less jobs to go around, and more and more people will need to have entrepreneurial skills and to create their own products and services using all of the technology that they have for them to build these products.
Yeah.
And but they really need that confidence to go out and say, this is a problem that I want to solve. I think I can solve it. I have the tools to do it. I'm going to solve it, and then I'm going to tell the world that I did it. I'm going to sell it, and that's hard. Selling is hard, and I'm going to promote this product to the world. So I really want to teach kids to have the confidence to do that.
Yeah.
And to really know that everything that they see around them was created by another human being, another person that's not smarter than they are.
Yeah.
And they can participate in shaping the world. That's there for them. And the game is there for they to play.
100%. Yeah, I think literally the democratization of like tech and software and everything else has made it a level playing field, at least for the current time we're in, because maybe there'll be a kind of, I don't know, maybe one of the huge companies will kind of monopolize it, and I don't really know what the future of that will look like. But at least for now, in the next few years, I do think like there's probably been the highest number of new companies come out of every country, I would say, just based on software. And
yeah, if we could teach students how to learn using the internet, then I think that's the ultimate skill, right? I don't think I would focus on teaching specific skills. Maybe we would, just because that's the way that you market this curriculums. But what I would really like to achieve is teaching our students how to feel confident and how to learn using the internet, because that's kind of what I do in a daily basis. I want to build something. I might not know how to do it. I might not have the skills, but I just know that I can learn it online, and I can find people that have the skills. And that's I guess that's kind of the mind frame, the mindset that I want to instill in my students.
Fantastic. And if you could talk to a minister of education who's currently skeptical about online education, what are some of the key points you would communicate to them to, show them the opportunity?
I would say what imagine you're in the 90s, in 1970, and someone tells you that in 30 years there's going to be something called the internet.
Yeah.
Would you do something about it? Would you change something in your educational system to help your population take advantage of this huge opportunity? If the answer is yes, then there's people screaming out of their top of their lungs saying that AI is going to change the world.
Yeah.
That there's something coming. So we should try to prepare for that, and I would tell them to think of the students. I know that politically it's hard to create change in such a big system, such an important part of society. People kind of respect teachers. Teachers have a strong voice in our societies, but we have to communicate to the teachers that they're not in danger, that their jobs are secured. They will continue to be a very important part of our society, but we do need to get with the times. We just need to evolve. We need to integrate these technologies into our educational system for the sake of our kids and for the sake of the competitiveness of our economies.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what I would tell them.
100%. Yeah, I think, likewise from my 2 cents. And yeah, I think, I have a couple more questions. I think one that I've just thought of, but that being slipped from my mind.
No problem.
Slipped. I guess I was going to ask you, the other one that I had was if you could pitch, your platform in 60 seconds, how would you pitch Dawere to somebody?
Okay, before we do that, I want to ask you, George. You're into sales, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
How important do you think sales are as a part of a curriculum in high school? Would you think sales in high school makes sense?
Yes. Yeah. I think that sales is more of a skill that you use in like everyday life more than people think, because I think it is, well, the fundamentals of sales is like clearly communicating what's going on in your mind. But I also think that you need to truly believe in whatever you're selling, because people can read a lack of enthusiasm in things. So, but yeah, sales is the fundamentals of it is communication ability, is vocabulary, it's being able to put your ideas clearly out on the table. And if we do have lots more entrepreneurs in a society, sales is like the core of business. If you can't get it out to a market, or you can't explain to an investor why what you're doing is valuable, then it's going to be very difficult for you to kind of get the snowball effect going.
How would you teach sales to a high school kid?
Very good question. I would get them to, I think I would get them to pick something they're passionate about. As I was saying, in terms of you need to believe in what you're selling fundamentally. Otherwise, you can get into kind of just selling something that isn't right for the audience you're going after, and it's more difficult in the first place. You get burnout, etc. I've done that personally in previously. So I think picking something at least that you're passionate about, or that you can identify an opportunity in first, and I think I would get them to do it empirically. I think I would get them to set up a company to understand the true application of sales. As for example, like Elon Musk says, and it goes for every subject, it's like the best way to teach something is to, for example, pulling a car apart and then introducing a tool. I think I would, teach it that way. I'd be like, right, you have a company now. Let's learn this because it's needed, rather than saying like you need sales and try to push it on them. I think people best understand a subject when they come to their own conclusions about it and they see the real application. I think that's how I'd teach it.
I saw this school that they get their students to go through rejection therapy.
Right.
So what they do is just tell them, go to shops on your local town and ask for something for free, and just get the students comfortable talking to strangers and asking for something. I think that's a
Absolutely.
great start.
No, no, definitely is because you need to. There's influences like I don't know if you've seen Giuliano Massarelli. Maybe
Yeah.
yeah, you've seen him, yeah. And he's he's got this like philosophy of on to the next, on to the next because he's a cold cooler. And
Yeah.
I think no, you're right completely. I think you need to have thick skin. You need to be quite tough to go into sales. You need to be tough to go into anything in life if you want to be successful. Everything is difficult. Everything worth having is very difficult to obtain. So yeah, definitely. I think that's a good method as well. But I'd have to think about that more. I think I have a family of teachers as well. So like literally my auntie, my mother's a teacher. She's an art teacher. That's actually one of her paintings that she did for me. But I like the idea of I guess passing on knowledge. And so, but yeah, it's a good question.
Oh, it's beautiful. Education changed my life in that regard. That it's not only about building a company for money or anything like that, but it's really you get a lot of spiritually you get a lot out of it. Because you feel like you're helping other people, and families then thank you for it, and sometimes the thank you means a lot more than just the money.
100%, yeah. And I guess that's when it comes to the purpose of people's lives. Usually, it is literally just it's human connection, isn't it? And the memories you leave and the imprints you leave on people's minds. And so I think like teaching that's the bulk of that, isn't it? So definitely a good way to leave a legacy if that's your kind of aim. Yeah, completely. And I thought of the question I was going to ask as well. Obviously, we're on to like over 50 minutes, so this will be the last one. But what do you think about the future of subjects? Because something I quite frequently think about is how actually maybe jobs in terms of volumes of jobs won't actually be reduced, but maybe it will just shift into kind of new roles that are more focused maybe on like I don't know, the development of the AI tools. Maybe you have developers and I don't know, people who work with theory, etc., or maybe jobs that are more focused on like recreation, etc. So do you think there will be an emergence of like new subjects that we teach in the school?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. And one of the problems that I've seen in Latin America is that curriculums are very old. Like they're using curriculums from the 80s. And in the other hand, I've seen some countries where the curriculum is constantly changing because they allow schools to propose new subjects. So let's say in my school, I have this amazing robotics teacher, and he wants to do, or this teacher that was very into technology,
Yeah.
and he came up with a curriculum for robotics, and we want to teach it in our school. Then you can submit that to your Ministry of Education or your Department of Education, whatever, and they will check that curriculum, help work with you, and then create it into a elective of sorts. They will include it into the directory of courses that are eligible or that you can provide in your high school curriculum.
That's fantastic.
So if you create a mechanism where you can constantly include new subjects into the curriculum, that's the way to go. Because what are we doing? We're trying to prepare these students for the real world, for inserting them into our economies.
Yeah.
So if the school system is not in sync with what's going on in companies, then we're just not helping these students succeed.
Exactly.
So yeah, definitely the subjects are going to change because the work is going to change, and we just have to be as nimble as possible to be in sync and change at the same pace that the industry is changing.
100%. Yeah. And it seems like a given, doesn't it? It's strange how we haven't got to that, but yeah, we need to.
I guess as smaller schools emerge and people understand that the world is moving faster and faster every time, then they will look for schools that are that nimble. you know.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what's going on with universities. Universities are also, you know, people are thinking now if it's really a good investment of their time and money to go to a university, because it's just 4 years, and that you could be doing something else or even working or whatever. And I guess universities will also need to change, and people are going more to quick courses that they can do online,
Yeah.
you know, very quick, and just to go into a trade or to do something in your work or to build something in your company. So, you know, I think also universities are going to have to reinvent themselves.
100%, yeah, and that's the beauty of competition, isn't it, as well? You know, with smaller companies coming out, more specialized. Yeah. One last question: if you could pick one country to model education for Venezuela and Latin America generally, what would you pick?
It's a hard question because right now I'm living in Spain, and I've seen how Europe does I think a good job in education, and the public system works. In Latin America, the public system does not work. I don't think it serves very well their students. In Europe, there's more of a centralized approach where the government is going to take care of the education.
Yeah.
Right? And it's good education, and people trust their educational system. That for me was very foreign until I moved here. I don't think that could be possible.
Yeah.
And also, I'm biased because, because of the recent political events in Venezuela and the recent government in Venezuela. So right now, I'm biased towards more liberty and more right-wing thinking of more liberties for society. So I think I want to say, you know, I like the Florida system with the Florida Department of Education. That's where our school is. They're very open. They do not hassle private schools. They let them be. They let them innovate. If we want to provide schooling in Spanish, we can. In Chinese, we can. In every language, that's okay. That's your prerogative. If you want to do it online, do it online. If you want to have special programs, they have this big curriculum. You can include new subjects to the curriculum. So I like it that it's very flexible. So I'm going to say Florida. It's probably not a good answer. I know that there's other good educational systems out there. Finland and other Asian countries are doing very well as well.
Yeah.
But I guess the one that I know better and that I like the liberty and that has allowed us to thrive, I'm just going to say Florida.
100%. Yeah, no, that's great. The reason I asked was because I remember I took sociology in A-levels too, and I watched a documentary that included, so it was Korean kids that went to a Welsh school, and Welsh kids went to a Korean school. And I think the reason they did that is because the Welsh, I think they're amongst like one of the lowest in terms of like attainment in educational attainment. But Korea are literally the top number one position. But they have like ridiculously strict rules. It's like 13-hour school days or something. Like honestly, something as ridiculous as that. And like there's a high suicide rate because of pressure, etc. So, yeah.
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 I actually have a friend that he married a Korean woman. And they were living there in Korea, and they wanted to move because her wife felt that school system created too much pressure, and she didn't want that for their kids. And they're actually thinking about going to Venezuela. So you know, it's crazy.
Yeah, definitely. Well, yeah, I guess it depends how naughty your kid is and if he needs to be put in place, doesn't it? Send him to Korea. Yeah. Amazing. Cool. So thank you so much for jumping on, Alvaro. It's been amazing. It's been a pleasure. Sure the insights will be, very well put together for people in your audience, people in our audience. And so I appreciate you jumping on.
No, thank you, George. Thank you. Anytime you need, just give me a call.
Amazing. Thanks a lot. It's been the Lead and Allure Founder podcast, and we'll see you on the next one.